Hello everyone. Today we're going to have a go at painting something that looks pretty similar to this. Now this was a painting that I did for a card. So I only have a photo of the original. I don't actually have the original on hand because of course I gave the card to someone who loved it. But I thought, today let's go ahead and paint. It's fall. The leaves, I'm looking out the studio window and there are yellow golden leaves just all over the road and falling down from the sky. The wind is blowing. So yeah, I think it's been a little rainy today. And I just thought, let's paint something fall. I'm going to do this with some watercolors, and then I'm going to show you how we can use gouache to create the easiest foliage ever. Usually when we paint with watercolor, we have to be really careful how we layer everything up. But when we add gouache into the mix, well, that kind of changes everything. So that's what we're going to be doing today. It is going to be really easy. You can paint along with me. And supplies that I'm going to be using. I have some of my Daniel Smith watercolors here. This is my little pochade box that I've made. I've shared this before. And it has some of the colors that I'm going to want. And then I have my portable painter here because somehow I don't know how this didn't end up with sap green, but something that I need to rectify. I think I might have to put one more little row of these mini pans right here on this flat spot and add some more colors. However, I have sap green over here if I should want it. And yeah, then we have the Caran D'Ache Gouache, isn't that fun to say? And these we've swatched during the last live stream. We swatched these colors, and I have to say that I was a little hesitant, right? Because when we swatched them, some of them at first go round were not very opaque, and I think this is the studio gouache, so student grade. And with this, I think that these work very well to be able to paint them thin like a watercolor and build up your layers to get some nice opacity. And some of these colors, once they were layered, really did get the opacity that I would expect from gouache. However, some of the colors I'm going to want to use today, like this yellow and vermilion, probably even this carmine, and of course, definitely yellow ochre. But a couple of these, still the opacity is not quite there. So if I can't get there with this, I did grab, just in case, my palette of Daniel Smith gouache, and I know that this will get me there because I used that when I painted this. I used the Daniel Smith paints with the Daniel Smith gouache. However, if I don't use these, I'm not going to know if they will work the way that I want them to. So I thought, you know what? Today is that day. We're going to go ahead and we're going to paint it up. So yeah, all you're going to need is some gouache. Whatever brand you have is fine. If you're using jelly gouache, that's fine. It'll work wonderful. So whatever you have. And then in addition to that, I thought it would be fun maybe to throw in, as I was watching the leaves kind of falling out my window, I was like, some little gold accents in those leaves, like a little bit of shimmer, I think would be gorgeous. I've done that on a card before and loved how it came out. So I have my Calero colors. These are by Fine Tech. They're made in Germany. These are one of my favorite metallics. But whatever metallics you have will be fine. So if you're painting along, just grab some gold metallic paint. I'll probably use like this one and this one, which is that says the Arabic gold and the moon gold. Maybe even some, who knows? We might even use them all. But we're going to throw some little splashes of metallics in there. So I set those aside. And I'm using my block of Meeden cold press watercolor paper. Now I have my 7x5. We're going to be holding it this way. You don't have to work this small. This will work and translate just as well if you're working on, say, the 10 by 7 or even larger. Okay. I have my Meeden masking tape. I have a cut up piece of plastic card because super easy birch trees can be made with a piece of plastic card. And of course, I have my Princeton Aqua Elite and some of my Princeton Velvet Touch brushes. When I get into gouache, you'll probably see me grab those same old brushes that I used last time, or even the quite possibly the brush that came with the gouache itself. I'll probably end up using that one. Okay, hello to everyone in the live chat. Thank you for joining me. All right. So this is the first time I have used this block. And when you get one of these from Meeden, and of course, I do have a discount code for you in the description below. If you would like to order some paper from Meeden, I love their 100% cotton cold press paper. I do have the rough and the smooth that we have to try. I want to do that soon. But when you get it, there's going to be a sheet on top. This one is green because it's the cold press paper. I think there's like one that's peach, and it just depends on, I think the colors vary depending on the surface texture. But you're going to have a piece of that paper, and you're going to want to just come in and take that off. That's just there to protect your first sheet of watercolor paper. So you want to take that off. And then you just have a piece of scrap paper that you can use for something else. And there we go. So now I have my little block of watercolor paper. To do birch trees, I've shared this before, so we're going to do it again. Let me just check the chat real quick. Okay. Yeah, Berlina Stressen says that it's a 2-in-1 set. I don't necessarily think I need to add the white gouache that comes with this. If I do that, then I'm going to tint them. And I'm going to get a tint of that color. And that's not necessarily what I'm going to be looking for today. So I want to build up the layers to get the opacity. And I can do it that way as well. So yeah, we won't be using any white gouache to thicken them up or anything like that. Okay. All right. So welcome everybody that is hanging out with me in chat. And if you're watching this on the replay, welcome. All right. Super easy way to do birch trees. So here is my Meeden masking tape. I love this tape. It always releases so well. I don't need to go the whole height of my piece. If we look at the previous one that I did, you'll see that I have them at like different levels. So I'm just going to rip a piece, and this is the easiest way. I've shown you this before, and I've like ripped down the sides, and then I rip down the other side because, you know, I don't want it to be perfectly straight. But watch this. Let me just grab my glasses so I can see what I'm doing today. We're just going to tear down this piece of tape. Okay. And I'm going to take that, and I do want it to come off my page. So I'm going to place it about where I want my tree to go. Okay, and if you're working larger, you can have more than 3 trees. I like odd numbers. So I took the smooth side or the straight side of the tape, and I put it to the right. So my torn side is on the left. And then I'm going to take the other one, and I'm going to put my smooth side to the left. And I'm going to overlap them. And by overlapping, I can make my tree as narrow or wide as I want. Right? And there we go. Now I have my first birch tree masked off. I'm going to do it again. This time, hi, Boo Peep. Right, I'm going to just, once again, just kind of rip down my masking. It's ripping wonky, and that's fine. It doesn't matter. Trees aren't perfectly straight, so don't worry about that. Okay, and then again, I'm going to take my rough edge and I'm going to put it. So basically when I rip my tape in half, I'm then going to put it like this. So I'm going to swap those to create a more organic edge. Okay, and so I have this one about, almost a third of the way in. And then here, I'm still not going to come center. I want to leave the center open. And I'm going to place this one up just a little bit higher than my first one because it's going to be set back just slightly. Oh, I have to move it up just a little bit more because that's not going off the page. Right, and I want it to go right up off my paper. There we go. And this one's it's a little weird. I'm just gonna kind of adjust this slightly. If I can get that to tear, I am. There we go. And I'm going to make this one a little thinner, so I'm going to overlap it just a little bit more than I did with this one, because again, it's further away. All right, so there's that one. And birch trees actually will have bends and stuff like this. I've seen birch trees that grow bent over like this. So don't worry about the shape. Hi, Tara. I bet Tara turned on the stream and was like, oh, yay, we're doing trees. And if any of you are members, channel members, you know why I'm laughing, because trees are Tara's nemesis. And I love to paint trees. Okay, so yet again, just rip that down the center. I'm going to push this one a little bit further back. And really, I think I want this one. And you see, I'm not making any of them go straight up. They're all kind of slightly tipped. Some trees do grow nice and straight like a telephone pole, but not all of them do. Okay, straighten that bottom part off. It's a little weird. And again, I'm going to make this one be even narrower. There we go. And all you can do is just press those down. You don't need to worry about really burnishing it onto the paper or anything like that. That's going to be fine. So there are our trees. And I'm just looking at their placement to see, like, do I like the angle? Do I want it to move, shift a little bit more? We're just going to go just like that. All right. So our trees are all masked. The next thing that I'm going to do, I need to wet my paper and I'm going to start putting in our background. I think when I do the background, we're going to work wet and wet, and we're going to start with the yellow that you can see. I'm just going to make this smaller so you guys can kind of see it. It's not going to be, we're not painting this exact. We're not going for exact here. So you're going to see me possibly have some deviations from this. Branches are not going to be in the same place. They're going to be wherever the moment takes me for branches when we do this one. And I'll explain what I mean as we go, because how the tree shape with that torn tape, how that develops kind of determines where I put branches. George says, interesting tree shape idea with the torn tape. This is the easiest way to paint trees. And this doesn't even have to be just for birch trees. You could do any kind of trees like this. If you're wanting to mask them off, this is the easiest way to do that. I mean, you could take masking fluid and mask them out. But I just think this is so much easier. Okay. What I'm going to use for my background, I'm going to mix some color up first. So I just have my size 10 round Princeton Velvet Touch here. And I'm going to grab some Nickel Azo Yellow, which is PY 150. Look at that color. It is so gorgeous. Definitely fall. This is what the leaves look like that were falling outside my window today. Okay. And we're going to start with that. We're going to grab some other colors. I have some Aussie Red Gold, which is PY83, PR101, and PV19. Such a gorgeous color. You're going to see me throw some of that in. Down when we get here, we're going to paint our the background with all of the leaves that have fallen very wet into wet. So we're just going to be grabbing some colors, and I'll try to remember to tell you what color I'm grabbing as we go. I have some, I believe that is burnt, no, that's PR101. It is Transparent Red Transparent Red Oxide by Daniel Smith, the PR101. I have some PO48, some Quinn Gold Deep. I'll probably be using that. And the PY150, which is the Nickel Azo Yellow, and also some PY129, which is Green Gold, and possibly some Sap Green. All those colors are Daniel Smith. And you may see me grab some Umber or Burnt Sienna. Both are PB7 versions. Okay, so there we go. Those are pretty much the colors I'm going to be using, but I'll try to say them again as I grab them. So let's go ahead and get this wet. This is my 1.5 inch Mottler brush by the Princeton Aqua Elite line. And we're just going to wet our paper. So get our whole paper wet. Now, if you wanted to, like I said, you can paint this larger. You could have taped off the edges if you wanted a white border around your painting when you were finished. You could tape this down and paint it right on the cover of a card. That's what I did the first time. That image that you're seeing there in the bottom right, that was a card. Let me see if I can click this light on and see if that, I know that's washing that out. I just need it to see where my paper is wet. Once we put color on, I think that will calm down. And if it doesn't, then I will turn that light back off. Okay, so my paper is good and wet. I don't know if I can get that to really show the sheen. It is very wet. It is not pooling, water's not running. It's just very shiny. I'm kind of let that set for a minute so that it can start to absorb into the cotton fibers of the paper. And I'm going to watch. My edges will get dull first. And you'll see a lot of times, I'll add some more water. We might try some salt. I have some salt here, and I was thinking about trying some salt technique in this just to add texture to that background. So that is something that we will probably do just for the fun of it to see what happens. Okay, so taking my nickel azo yellow, we're gonna start. I want my horizon is gonna be about here. So just over a third of the way up, but not half, right? So we're going to move about an inch below half. And I'm going to put in, look at that, it's so bright. And remember, our watercolors are going to get lighter as they dry. I can just kind of use this color to remind me of about where I'm going to want my horizon. Let's see. I'm going to grab a little bit of that, the Quin Gold Deep, and mix it right in with what I had. And those two colors together, if you have is it Quin Gold? I think it's Quin Gold. It's normally PY 150 and PO 48. You can just use that. These will mix and mingle on the page. Some more of that Quin Gold Deep. See, as we start to work our way up to where our leaves are going to be, we're going to put some more of this in. Right? The tree color, fall leaf colors. Let's see. I've got some transparent yellow oxide, PY 42. Let's just put some splashes of that in here. I'm going to grab some of that transparent red oxide, the PR 101. Let's get some more. You see, I'm just dabbing it. Some more of our nickel azo yellow. Bring that right in there. Look at that color. That's gorgeous. Look at that. Oh yeah. My paper is getting very matte. The more matte my paper gets, the less my watercolors are going to kind of move and mingle on their own. I've got a spritzer here, and I'm just gonna kind of give that a spritz. If the water adds texture to it, it's fine. You know what I mean? If we get some little like spots that start to move, but I think it was wet enough that that's not necessarily going to be the case. All right, now we need to get down in here. We need to let this start to dry a little bit before we put some of our lighter tree trunks in the background. So while that's doing its thing, we're going to move down here. Hi, Toast. I love the name. Love these warm fall colors. Oh, I love the colors of fall. Absolutely love the colors of fall. Okay, so let's think about how our ground is going to be. When I did the card down here, I used a lot of spattering. We're gonna take, let's grab a little burnt sienna. Again, Daniel Smith's version of burnt sienna is a PBR 7. And let's just put some in here. I'm kind of following my horizon line. If this creeps up, it's not a big deal at all, right? It's just going to look like things that are growing. We don't necessarily need it to be a straight line. We don't want it to be a straight line. Just working out whatever I have left on my brush, pulling that down. I'm going to come back to that Quin Gold Deep, which is very similar to our burnt sienna. This is just the PO48. Bring some more water into that because now it'll let me put some spatter in there. And this is going to just help make it look like leaves that have fallen on the ground. All right, let's bring a little bit, now that we're moving forward, let's bring a little bit of the green gold, which is PY129. Yeah, look at that. All right, let's get a little of this in here. This is pretty wet, dilute mixture. Remember, it's going to, our watercolors are definitely going to dry lighter. I think this is one that works up pretty quickly. Now we need to keep adding to that. So there's my green gold. I'm gonna grab a little sap green. Let's bring that in. And I think I'm going to neutralize it with a touch of with a touch of our PO48, the Quin Gold Deep. Look at that. When we neutralize that, oh, we get such a beautiful fall olivey green color. Love it. Right? Because there's still going to be a little bit of green scattered through here and there. And look at how it just kind of like spiders itself out. I love it. Just tapping it in. We're leaving this pretty abstract. We're not painting any specific details here. We're just putting in some colors. Very wet and wet. Let's get some of that Aussie red gold. Such a gorgeous color. And look at this. It's beautiful. And one of the things about this color, when you work this, the yellow that is in here, the PY83, I wish, if anybody knows right off the top of their head, I haven't gone searching yet. I think I've come across this pigment on its own before. I think there's a couple brands that actually have it where you can purchase just the PY83 on its own. But when you put that down, oh, this just screams fall to me. The yellow in that, in a wet wash, you can't appreciate it in this because we've already got so many colors starting to work together here. But the yellow in this color usually will like push out, and the yellow just takes off. It's so gorgeous. I'm just kind of tapping. You could spatter that, right? We could take this, getting a little bit more water on my brush so it will be able to spatter in, right? We can just, I'm gonna make such a mess. And I'm gonna do some up here too, because why not? This is where our leaves are going to be. And what better color for a fall leaf than Aussie Red Gold? It is so gorgeous. Here we go. Another color I think we would benefit from kind of spattering up top is our Quin Gold Deep PO48. Look at that. Yeah. I'm getting color everywhere. Don't worry if some spatters through here. Leaves are falling all the time. And I can't even say that without getting the Led Zeppelin song stuck in my head. Leaves are falling all around. I'll put some of this down here as well. Oh, look at that. I love it. I'm going to put a little bit more through the middle just to look like some more leaves falling to the ground. Okay, now we need some color for some trees in the background. Now, this is really important. My background right now, let me see if I can get it to pick up. So you see the shine we have up here. This is really wet down here. It's also pretty wet up top. I don't know if I can get there. See, it's also pretty wet up top. But in my mid section, that kind of goes away. It's a little dull. I haven't put a lot of water in this area. So what I need to make sure is when I create the paint that I'm going to paint my trees that are in the distance, I don't want too much water to be in there, because if I bring in too much water on my brush and introduce it into that area that has now gone matte looking, I'm going to cause blooms. It's going to push out in a weird way. I'm still going to get nice, soft, edges in the distance. But if I have too much water, I will cause a bloom and they're going to move really weirdly. So I'm just going to grabbing some umber. This is, again, a PBR 7. I'm just kind of mixing it in with some of these colors that I have here. That's fine. I want to neutralize this just a little bit. So I'm going to grab just a touch of neutral tint. There we go. Really kind of, I said just a touch and then I grabbed a whole lot more. It's all right. Okay, I think that's fine. So I want to make sure that my brush, I've got my sponge up here that I always use, and I'm just making sure that I have a lot of that excess water out of that brush, because I just want my paint here. This is about, I don't know, it's about the texture of, like, it's not tea. It's almost like a milky texture, but not quite. Okay, and we're going to start. I'm going to put in some trees in the background. Don't overthink this. You're just putting shapes back here. Remember, it's the background. This is going to kind of fade away. And you notice I went right over my tape, and maybe that tree comes off like that. That part of the paper is a little drier than I was expecting. You see I have some hard lines there. It's fine. Maybe that one's a little bit closer, but I am going to give this just a little mist just to make sure that as I continue to paint in some of my distant trees here, that they will soften out. I can have one that maybe it starts right behind this tree and it comes over like that. And you can have as many or as few trees in your background as you want. Okay, I'm going to try to make them of like varying size. I notice I keep going to the right. I'm going to try not to paint them all the exact same way. I'm going to bring a little bit more orange into this one. Doing some much thinner with just the very, very tip of my brush. Kind of skipped over in that space, and that's fine. I'm not, again, it's the background. Right? This stuff is just going to kind of fade off in the distance. And it's certainly not our focal point. So there we go. I've got some trees in my in the background. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is we're going to have to, we need this to be dry. And I'm going to mute you, take out my hair dryer. I think I'm going to, I'm going to be spattering some more, so I'm not even going to worry about the spatters that are everywhere. All right, I'm going to mute you while I dry this. We need this to be dry so that we will be able to pull off our masking for our birch trees. Okay, it's not 100%. However, it is plenty dry enough that when I paint my birch trees, they're not going to bleed out into that background. So let's go ahead and remove our masking. And you see I got some paint under where they overlapped. Don't worry about that. It's fine. It's perfectly fine. We're going to give these trees some dimension here in just a second. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is, while this is damp, I'm just going to come over this tree, and I'll start with this one. So you see, just painting over that. If that happened to you, no worries, just like that. Let me shut this off now, see if we can't pick that up a little bit more. Just kind of wetting that tree. I need to wet the tree anyway. I'm gonna do them one at a time. All right, so I'm just gonna come in and wet along that edge. Don't worry if some of this has bled in. Remember, we're painting foliage over these. Okay, now we want to give our birch trees some dimension. So I already have, because I had some of that color, I've already got a nice warm in the center because I just worked those in. And we're going to start with a little bit of neutral tint. Okay. And I definitely want this to be a nice dilute mixture. You see how nice and light that is. And I'm going to start at the edge on the outside. And yes, birch trees are white, but they're not stark white. Right, so we're going to paint this up the edge. Now, because we wet this, it's going to be nice, and we're going to get a nice soft edge towards the middle. I'm going to go up both sides. And my tree is going to start to take on a more rounded shape. And I'm going to grab, normally I would grab like burnt sienna. Yeah, let me just go ahead, burnt sienna. So there we go. Again, very diluted mixture, just like our neutral tint. Because we want this to just kind of blend together. And remember, they're white trees. But that's just going to help them take on some shape. And we get more of like a rounded. We're going to repeat that process for all of the trees that you masked off. So if you did 3 or 5, depending on how big you were working, if you were working like 7 by 10 or 9 by 12, you might have 5 trees on yours. Maybe you have 3 and 2 or something like that. Whatever, however you have done it on your painting. You're just going to go through and you're going to wet where the paper is white. And then we're going to grab our neutral tint. If you don't have neutral tint, you can use a little bit of ultramarine and burnt sienna. Mix those together. That'll give you a nice gray. You want it to be leaning more towards the blue to get that shadow side. And I'm just going to come right into my burnt sienna and I'm going to come right down the center. I have some white of my paper showing and I'm just kind of touching up those spaces. I'm not going to worry if this gets weird like little spots that has more of the neutral tint, because birch trees have lenticels. I finally remembered what those things are called. And the little black striations that are on a birch tree are called lenticels. And that is how the tree exchanges gases, right? CO2 and oxygen. I just had a couple other white spots, so just touching a little bit in. This is still going to be damp. That will kind of dissipate. Okay. A little bit more. That's way too much. That would be way too dark. I just want to dilute that a bit more. I'm going to drop that in. There we go. All right, go ahead and wet this last one. And we'll do the same thing. I'm going to drop some neutral tint along the outside edge. And I'm going to come back with a little bit of burnt sienna. Just grab some of that. Right, and warm up the center. Okay. Now I need to let these dry just a little bit before I come in and do my lenticels. Otherwise, they're just going to bleed and run all into the trees, and they're not going to look like nice little striations like you see on this one over here. So I'm going to go ahead and dry these yet again. Cadmium red feral kitten, I'm glad you said that. I did talk about that on Discord, and I'm not sure what I want to paint on these today, but I shared, if you are a channel member or a patron, you have access to my Discord server. That is the place to be, because we do so much. So much goes on like behind the scenes that you get access to, and just the conversation and the community that's there. I definitely invite you to come and join in the fun that we have over on Discord. We were talking about panels. Actually, it was during Joseph's stream on Tuesdays. So if you're not familiar with our channel moderators, Tara and Joseph both have channels here on YouTube. I do hope you will check them out. Joseph streams on Tuesdays, same exact time that I do, just Tuesday. And I moderate in his chat. So we were having, I shared that he was painting on a wood panel. He was working in acrylics last week, and that is a gorgeous fall piece that he's working on. If you want to see that wrap up, join us next Tuesday. However, he's working on a wood panel, and that led the discussion into watercolor panels. And I said that I had some of these and that I would share them on Thursday so everybody could see what I was talking about. Now, these are aqua boards. These are by Ampersand. And these here are not the same. This is, it is an acid-free textured clay surface that will absorb watercolor. So this is an aqua board. And the back, it's like an MDF. Okay, so that's what these are. aqua boards. I have not painted on these yet. I have a couple. You know, it's one of those, like, it's precious, right? It's not precious. I need to just pick a project and go for it. I really want to try these out. So Shanna Rowe Jackson of Caution Artists at Play had said that she really enjoyed working on the boards. And so she got me to order some of these to give those a try. But what I was talking about was watercolor paper on aluminum panels. And everybody was like, why? Like, what is that? I've not heard of that. So Legion makes them. And these are some, again, so these are 5x7. I've ordered a couple different kinds. So they have the Stonehenge white paper. Now this is a 92-pound paper. It is 250 GSM, 5x7, and it's mounted on an aluminum panel. Now, if you look at this, these are, I'm not unwrapping them because I'm afraid I'll get them dirty before I use them. The aluminum panel, that's pretty thick. And then here's that paper. This is very smooth, like almost like a hot press texture. I'm not sure what I want to do on this yet. I have an idea, but I'm not 100% sure. So this one, I just ordered one of them to try. But this is what I was telling everybody about in the chat on Joseph's stream. So these are the Legion paper. It's the Stonehenge Aqua Cold Press 100% cotton paper. This is a 600 GSM paper. It is a 300-pound paper. So very thick. Look at the difference. See how thick the paper is? Same size as far as the thickness for the aluminum back. This is not going to buckle. It's not going to warp. It's not going to do, like, if you see my paper here, yeah, it's on the block, but you can see how it's puffed up, right? It's like puffed up through here. Even on a block, watercolor paper can kind of bend and warp and do some things. That's fine. If you leave it on the block until it's dry, it should shrink right back down and be flat, because when cotton paper absorbs water, it expands, right? It gets bigger. So it'll buckle and it's just, that's the nature of the beast. It's not going to do that on these panels. So this says it's for watercolor, gouache, acrylic. I didn't link these in the description, but I will right after the stream. These are very affordable. You can get them from Blick, and they are aluminum artist panels. So you can certainly look that up. They're by Legion, but I will put a link in the description after the stream. So this is it's a cold press surface. I don't know, right there you can kind of see the texture that it has. It is the Stonehenge Aqua Cold Press paper. I have some of this 100% cotton paper. I haven't really used it yet. Do I like it? I have no idea. But I have 3 of these panels, and they're 5x7. We talked about in Joseph's chat, if you paint on these, I could just put that right into a 5x7 frame. I wouldn't need the glass. But if I'm painting watercolor on here, could I still leave the glass? You know, I don't know. I guess it depends on how thick the frame is. You could leave the glass in front of it. You would be able to take out, like, you know how the frames have the little metal tabs that you lift up and you put your pictures in, and then you put the backer board back on and you fold it over. If you were going to be hanging it, you know, you wouldn't need the stand that's on that backer board. You could just totally remove the backer board, put just this in, and fold those down. Then it might still fit in a standard frame with glass. However, if you're not able to have the glass in that frame and you want to use like a standard frame, one option, and I will make sure as I try to not drop everything over here, I will try to make sure I link this in the description as well. You can use like a Dorland's wax medium and seal your watercolor and protect it. So this is an option. It was mentioned to spray it with a fixative or a UV fixative. The only thing I would say to be careful with that is you're going to want to make sure, and I mentioned this in the chat in Joseph's stream, you're going to want to make sure that you test that with the paper your painting is on and the paint that you've used on that paper. So you're going to want to take a sample of the paper and the paint them on, let it dry, spritz a mist of that over. Some watercolors reactivate so easily, and droplets of that UV spray, I would fear, could cause little blooms and texture in your painting that you otherwise don't want. So definitely test the paint and the paper. Now, I have some paints that once they're dry, just a light misting will not reactivate them. But again, you're going to want to test it specifically on the paper. So I really hope that helps, and I hope that kind of answers everybody's question for why the aluminum watercolor panels, right? So Cadmium Red Falcon says, I wonder if the paper is mounted wet, then dries tight on the panel, or if dry mounted and still reactive to some warping and getting wet. I don't know, but we'll use one soon. I'll find a project that we can paint, and we will do one. We'll use one soon, and we'll see if we can answer all those questions. So yeah, if you're watching this either live or on the replay, drop us a comment. Have you used these panels, and do you experience any warping? I would think not, because that is it's a 300-pound paper. It's not like our 140-pound 100% cotton that we're even using here. That's a really, really thick paper. So I don't think it's going to buckle and warp and do any of those things. But that's just my thought on it. Is that the case? I don't know. But yeah, we will. Let me know in the description if that is something that you're looking forward to seeing, and I will start working on a project that we can do on one of those soon. All right, let's see. Next step, and this is going to be plenty dry now after our talking, to create our birch trees. And I've shared this many times. I take a piece of cut up old credit card, and this is what I use to do all the lenticels on my birch trees. Sometimes I do some embellishing with the brush after the fact, but we will see. And Bo Peep says, I wonder if it stays wet longer because of the non-porous backing. I'm not sure, but I'm really looking forward to trying them and finding out. I'm going to give a little spritz and clean off a spot on this palette, just so I can put my dark. And now you can use black. You can use neutral tint. I've got some PBK 11, some lunar black. Of course, that is one of my favorites. I'm going to go ahead and bring that over. On this one, I had ivory black. I could have used that too. That's PBK 9. Just getting a nice thick mixture here. I want a nice creamy mixture of this so that you can pick it up. We'll paint our branches with this as well. But I like to paint the lenticels first. So all I'm going to do is, now that I have my paint on my palette here, I'm going to set my card kind of at a 45-degree angle, and I'm just going to pull back and lift up. And now there is a bead of paint on here, but as you can see some white through. It doesn't cover the whole card. I can take that, come and touch. Again, I'm going in at like a 45-degree angle, so I can see to put my card right at the edge of my tree, and I'm just going to kind of pull, and I'll get marks like this. Right, so I'll grab some of that paint, and don't worry if you get thick marks like that, it's fine. I love those. I'm go to this one as well. I'll flip my paper around. If I want, if I need it to be smaller, right, I can just turn my card. I have cards that I cut in weird shapes so that no matter like which way I turn it, I'll get all kinds of different, like this one here. It's narrower at the top, it's wider at the bottom. Kind of I'll do different pieces when I cut one up. So I have all kinds of different shapes. All right, well, let's flip that over. And we're gonna go back and do the same, right, for the other side of our tree. I like how that's kind of skipping across. There we go. Sometimes when I'm getting soft marks like that, I'll pull right all the way over so that I can kind of carry some lines to the center of the tree. I'm also kind of doing, if you notice, I'm doing like this motion so that all my lines aren't perfectly straight. I want some that are kind of rounded to help give that tree some form. And let's see what we've got. Super, super easy birch trees. So if you've never done them this way before, I definitely recommend give it a shot. You might surprise yourself at how easy these birch trees are. Okay, wipe off my little card so I don't put paint on me. Now let's do, I'm just going to grab a rigger brush here. Grab a little bit more. I don't usually grab paint with my rigger brush, but I'm being lazy. Okay. Let's put some branches in. One of the things I like to do, like, see how I have like a big lenticel that was formed here. I noticed that when you look at birch trees in the wild, they tend to have darker marks like right under where their branches grow out. So I kind of use these marks to help me decide where I'm going to put some of these branches. So for example, this one here, I might put that kind of, and this one is further back, so I don't want to paint in front of this tree when I work on this branch. And I'll bring it back to the tree and make sure it's thicker where it's connecting. There we go. There's one branch. And see, we can just use those spots to kind of help us figure out, hey, I'm going to have a branch and it's going to grow off right about here. And if the rigger brush is not giving you enough control, you can use a smaller brush. I'm not sure. They've been out for a little while. Cadmium Red Feral Kitten. Can you find them on Amazon? I don't know. I will definitely look. Like I said, I'm definitely going to try to link things in the description for those panels after the stream. But yeah, I'm not sure. I think you can get Legion paper on Amazon. I would think that you'd be able to get them, but again, don't know. I'm going to have some that are going to look like they're coming from behind the tree. So for right now, we're just putting in branches. Because this is going to help us determine where our gouache is going to go when we layer this up with our foliage. Now this tree is in front of this guy. So when I put in my branch here, I can just be as loose as I want to with it and let it go. Right? Because it grows right in front of that one. The way it's kind of overlapping, it almost looks like that one's coming off of here versus coming off of the tree. Trying to make that look like it's growing back away from us that way. And I was hoping I was going to be able to try this rigor to get these, but you know what? I think I just want my size 4 round, what I usually use. Just making that one a little thicker. I definitely want it to look like it's in front of that one. All right, let's get some branches going off this way. I could have done these in like an umber color branches on birch trees. The small ones are not white. They start off very much like an umber. We're just kind of bumping up that contrast in the color of them. I tend to put my branch out and then I will start pulling back. And where it has like, there's a little weird bump right here. Well, maybe that's because that's where it has a spot that grows off from it. And by pulling it back towards the tree, I thicken it up as I get back. And our branches are definitely thicker at our tree than they are at the end. There we go. I don't want to overdo it. You see how I have the ones over here, but I'm still just like, how many more? How many more branches does this little tree need? You can do as many branches as you want. All right, the other thing that I'm gonna do is pull in, right, a few extra marks on my trees, anywhere you think they need it. Sometimes our paint, because we made it thin when we pulled it across, you know, it'll get lighter. You can come back through and darken up some spots. Like up here, it's quite light up here. So I can come in and add some darker marks just in some of that. And that's going to look very natural. We have a cluster of birch that we planted, the paper birch. And they've just started really coming into their paper in the last couple of years, and they're gorgeous. I love birch trees. But they bend. Oh, we always have to be careful when we get snowstorms, especially when it's the really heavy wet snow, because one of them was actually like just completely arched over, and I can remember telling Lou, I'm like, you have to go shake the snow off that birch tree, because if you don't, they can stay that way. Like, they can stay all hunched over and they don't stand back up. They'll keep growing, but they'll just grow all weird. Sometimes I think we can get carried away with our little, at least I know I can, making my marks. There we go. All right, let's work on our big one that's in the foreground. And then it's time to get the gouache. Grab this one that's closest to me. I'm going to grab some umber to mix in with this PBK11. All right. And you see here, I have like this space. If I show you that up close, it's like this really odd little space. Like, I probably would have wanted the background touching a little closer there. I will make sure I have a branch here so that I can apply foliage in that space, and that'll just disappear. More of that lunar black, Mars black if you're not using Daniel Smith, PBK 11. Some more of the, I think this is burnt umber, which is a PBR 7. See how it made like a weird bump up right there? That is how I decide that part of the branch grows out this direction. And I'm going to put another, maybe a low one here. So remember, I want to have foliage that can cover this. So perhaps this one is going to grow right up this way. There we go. Perhaps there's one coming from behind the tree. That way. Okay. Tara asks, in the studio hangout October 18th. It is the next studio hangout is a week from tomorrow. We will be on Zoom. So if you are a studio member, that will be the next time we all come together, and we're going to have to do something for spooky season. I'll have to come up with something that everybody can do if they choose to paint the same thing. I think I need a couple coming back this way. Kind of growing away from us. Hey, Rob! Thanks for stopping in. One got a little thicker than I wanted it to, but there we go. Okay. I think that's going to be enough branches. It definitely gives us plenty. To, let's put one coming off the front here. Right? Sometimes our branches don't just grow off the sides. They grow all around the tree. This one is going to come right off of here. There we go. Sort of coming at us. are. All right, good enough. Good enough. Just wanted to make sure it looked like branches were growing out of, all different areas. Okay, so now we can put our watercolors away. So we are done with these. Pretty sure, for the most part. Can't guarantee I won't dip back into one, but now we're going to switch it up and go to our gouache. Yes, Rob, I did do the card swipe to create the birch trees. All right, so now I'm going to put my gouache here. Move this out of the way. All right, so again, I do have my Daniel Smith gouache if I can't get the opacity out of the Caran D'Ache that I am looking for. However, I am optimistic. I'm pleasantly optimistic that we are going to be able to do this. I'm going to just kind of give these a little wake up. So mostly I've spritzed my fall colors that I have like in here. This green, that is, what is that one? That's the emerald green and the yellow green. I'm going to give those a little spritz too, because I can't say that I won't use them to create some like stuff in the foreground here. So I don't remember with this one that you see here that I painted. That is, I don't know which Daniel Smith colors I used. So I couldn't say to be 100%. I'm also going to give my metallics a quick wake up, right? Because these take a moment to join the party. So we'll just give those a little spritz so that we can dip into them when we want. All right. And I'm going to grab my brush that came with my Caran D'Ache gouache. Isn't that fun to say? And let's just start with our foliage up here because this is so much fun. All right. I am grabbing, this is just the yellow. And this is how we begin. So I'm going to start with my lightest yellow. And I'm just going to, am literally just dabbing. Right? Where I have where my branches are. Just want to dab some of this color in some of these locations. Right now, this is not looking very opaque for me. But again, the yellow was one of the least. I'm going to go behind that branch. I'm kind of leaving this branch in front. Yeah, Rob says, ooh, Clearo Metallic's my favorite. They are my favorite too. I did get the Kuretaka, the Gonzai Tombi ones to kind of compare and see in the starry colors, which should be pretty much the same as those. Now don't forget, these branches go in front of these trees, right? We're painting some leaves right in front. Just gonna start. Don't be intimidated. We're just dabbing some in. Now this, I'm going to show you the difference. Okay, that yellow in the Caran D'Ache. I'm pretty sure if I grab my Daniel Smith gouache here. Well, yeah, it's catch the replay, Rob. Sorry that you are having to work right now. So we're going to grab our yellow here. This is Hansa Yellow Medium, PY74. This, right? Just me grab like re-wetting this. Now, when I come in with this one, I'm going to go over, you see where we can see the branch through? I've already gone over that with the Caran D'Ache. When I go over it with the Daniel Smith, you see the difference. The opacity. Professional, student grade. Professional. That's why I said I might have to use some of the Daniel Smith if I didn't like the opacity I was getting from the Caran D'Ache. I'm going to use Daniel Smith's yellow here. And then we'll return to the Caran D'Ache because I'm hoping that I can use the other colors. Oh, and we have our branch that came up here, right? It comes out here. What we gotta do is dab this on. I still am not disappointed that I have the Caran D'Ache. I'm really looking forward to using those more. And we're going to use them more today. I just want to get a yellow that will definitely be more opaque on here. And we're just dabbing. I'm looking for areas where I painted my branches up. This tree is in front of this tree, so I can go right over top with that. Okay, so we're starting with some of that yellow. We want some of that really bright color in there. Let me just... Oh, thanks, Rob. Oh, that's right. You have the wedding tomorrow. Well, congratulations. I know you will be thrilled to be able to just sit down in your studio and paint afterwards. Take a little sigh of relief on a break from all the chaos you've been going through getting ready for this. I don't necessarily have to worry about, painting individual leaf shapes. I don't need to worry about that. All right, I'm going to rinse that yellow out, and we are going to go back to the Caran D'Ache, and hopefully, I'm just going to set these aside. We'll get better results from like our orange and look at that. Oh yeah, I'm gonna make a mess. Did that like anxiety peak up for people when I almost went right in with the orange to the yellow? Like I would do it. It can be cleaned off. It's fine. But I want this to be not quite so orange. I want a little bit more yellow orange. And I'm just going right in with it. It's fine. That yellow will clean back up. All right, trying to get that nice and creamy so that we can hopefully get some of the opacity that I'm looking for. And now we're going to do the same thing. And we're going to come in and we're going to dab some orange in here. Right, I'm not trying to cover all the yellow. I'm just trying to put some dabs of orange. See, I don't want to bring in too much water, but it wants to dry on my palette really fast. Because the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add We're going to add some red in with this. And some of that Daniel Smith is still a little wet. Those are going to kind of blend right there on the paper, and that's fine. But I love that you can go, if I just use watercolor, I wouldn't be able to cover up some of these branches. It just wouldn't happen. And I find it easier to be able to paint all your branches out and kind of give yourself a place to anchor some of those leaves to, right? Like we know these are going to be holding up leaves on the ends of them, right? All through here. That one's smaller, it's further away from me, so I'm doing smaller little dabs of my brush back there. I'm gonna make sure I leave some of that bright yellow shining through. All right, let's add. I'm going to clean up my yellow here. And we're going to bring in some red. Look at that red. Gorgeous. Right in, mix it with that orange and the yellow. Let's just pop in a few, not too many, just a few. That one's really bright. It is gouache, so it's definitely a layering process. We can come back, and we will, and we'll add some more with our orange yellow. And you know what? I think I meant to do it with the others, but we're going to put some splatters in here on our ground. I can be afraid to get some larger shapes. It's gonna just look like leaves that have fallen. Rinse that out. Oh, I just made my clean water really dirty. I didn't fully rinse that brush yet. Grab some more of this orange. I'm gonna do the same. And don't be afraid if you get a few. Right? Just gonna look like leaves that are falling to the ground back there in the distance. If you get it on your tree and you don't want it there, you know, just give a little dab up. I've got gouache all over here. All right, so let's go back to this yellow. See, nice and clean. Nothing to worry about. I'm just going to do the same with it. Put some more in here. With these colors that are in our tree. I need to dry this. So I'm going to pause, give this a quick dry. What do you guys think? If you're enjoying this one, I do hope you will hit that like button. And if you like videos that you can paint along to in real time, I hope you will consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't already, and join us during live streams pretty much every Thursday at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. I am a little splattered. I just looked at my hands and I was like, oh my gosh, I definitely need to wash my hands after I'm done. Okay, so I think this is like, it's really bright, which is fine if that's the way you want it. But you see the way I did this one here, a little bit more muted. And we're going to see if we can't achieve that with some of this yellow. I'm going right here where I had the burnt sienna and the PO48 and all of those. We're going to go right in over here. And I'm going to bring in a little bit. Oh my gosh, my water's so filthy. Gouache definitely will make your water dirty quick, especially when you don't clean your brush out all the way and you stick it in your clean water. We're going to bring in a little bit of the ochre. There we go. Look at that. Just like that mustard yellow. These leaves are almost, they're almost done. And we're going to bring in a little bit of this right over the top. And get those colors a little bit more subtle. Again, if you like it big and bold and all these bright colors, it's fine. You don't have to bring in as much ochre. I just want to kind of make it a little bit more subtle. And I still think like the way that you can see through to some of these branches, the opacity that I got on this one over here when I was doing the Daniel Smith, like the branch, they would kind of like peek through and disappear and come back, which looked very natural. So these definitely are not as opaque, but that's okay. And I'm also going to bring this down here. Now we need to work on the foreground. I can also just get a little bit of water because, you know, we've got to spatter some. It's not wanting to spatter yet. I don't think I have enough water. Give that a try. Probably how I got my hand all spattered from trying to shelter the rest of my space from. Let's get some falling down. Yeah, we've got some leaves falling here. Put some splotchiness going on. Boo Peep, I actually, yeah, I like the varying amounts of opacity. I think it definitely, is letting some things show through, and this very much is how your fall trees start to look. You can see those branches through some of the leaves, and so yeah, I definitely agree. Um, I think it is lending itself well. Okay, so I really worked up like through here. I wanted like some grasses, and you can see the one that I painted that's right here. I brought some greens into that. Now, again, I was using my Daniel Smith colors, and I'm pretty sure that I was using the like the Cascade green and like the spring green with some ochre to get the colors that you see down in my foreground on that one. But we're just going to see what we can mix up with what we have with these Caran D'Ache colors, because it was really my goal today to play with these and see how they would work and build up layers in a painting. So we're going to take some of this one. Let's just mix it in here. It's not quite what I want yet, so we're going to take some more ochre. There we go. That's a bit better. Bring in a little burnt sienna, and there we go. All right. Now, at the base of my trees, I need to anchor these. Right now, they just kind of look like they're sitting on top. And I want to kind of anchor this in. So I'm going to come in just a little bit of this. Let's make it look like maybe we've got some grasses here. I'm not going to do too much. This is very green, and this is going to be my first layer. We're going to really tone this down and get it leaning more ochre, right? Because it's fall and the grasses are dying. All right, so we're going to put some in, just flicking up with the very tip of my brush. Some grass poking up. Just make it look like we've got leaves all fallen into our grass. I'm going to leave kind of the background. We don't know what's happening back there. There's bushes and who knows what else back there. Grab some more ochre. Bring that into it. There we go. All right, now we're going to use that. And we'll pull some more. This is really kind of thick, so I don't want to push too hard. I'm literally just trying to flick with the very tip of my brush. I could use my size 4 round. I still just don't know if I want to put these brushes in gouache. Do you guys use your watercolor brushes in gouache as well? Or are your watercolor brushes just for watercolor and nothing else to include gouache? I'm not sure how I feel about it quite yet. So again, just kind of keep flicking some grasses here in the foreground. I'm going to rinse that out, and I'm going to grab some more ochre again. And I'm going to mix it in one more time. Get some of that excess out of my brush. like that color. I'm just going to kind of splotch a little bit of this in where it's really light in my foreground. Just dabbing, turning my brush so I keep getting different marks. Yeah, see, that's how I feel too. Cadmium red frill kitten. I don't keep wanting to say kitty. I just don't want to damage, and I certainly wouldn't want to be doing what I'm doing right now with one of my watercolor brushes. Kind of beating up on it a little bit, just getting some dry brush and like texture from what's left on my bristles. And as you can see, like, I'm very much messing up this brush. I'm sure it'll go right back to how it was. However, I am liking the look that it's giving me for some of that background. So I'm gonna just let it keep going. This paint is very dry. There's not a lot of water in it. So it does let me get some more texture. And I think this ochre is a lot more like what we would see right now on the ground. At least what I see on the ground up here in Maine. We're losing the green quickly. The green is quickly going away. Yeah, I don't think I want these brushes to be used for gouache. So I have my set of brushes from Meeden. You know, I might give these a try, but even those are pretty soft. These brushes here are more of like a Taklon. They're definitely a bit sturdier. I used to use those for acrylic, so I have no problem using those for gouache. I just grabbed a little bit more water. I was getting pretty dry because I'm gonna flick in a few more. Right, like over some of this green. I love how it's blending with the spatters that I did, just looking like the leaves are falling in the background and kind of peppering in the grass. If you're a member of the channel or a patron in the community tier or higher, I will see you for a live chat on Discord tomorrow. Sounds like we won't see Rob. He will be very busy with wedding stuff, I'm sure. There we go. All right, what do you guys think? What do you think of that? So you see, similar but different from the one that we did over here. And I have to say that a lot of times I find that I like the first one the best. I do like we didn't put gold. That's what's missing. That is what's missing. Okay. I've got my colors here. Let's get some of this. Let's get some shimmer going on before we call it quits. Because why not? We need some sparkle. I can't believe I almost forgot those. I'm just going to close these because I'm all done with those. Move that out of the way. We'll bring our gold colors in here. I'm going to tip this so I can get some of the reflection. You guys see the reflection? Look at the shimmer starting to happen. Yeah, we need to And why not have a few that are falling that are maybe a couple in the grass? Why not? I'm going to use one of the other colors. And this one is the Inca Gold. It's a little more red leaning gold. Let's pop a few spots of that in there. I love it. Oh yeah, I love the shimmer. Like, is that the sun just sparkling through the leaves here? Can you see the shimmers? Oh, I love it. I don't know if you guys can hear the parakeet is singing downstairs, and like he's being really loud. He's not usually that loud. Saying, can somebody bring my dinner, please? Oh yeah, I like that with the little putting in some that are sparkly falling to the ground too. Look at that. There we go. So we just have some shimmer showing up. I like it. And you can add the metallic or you don't have to. That is completely your choice. But there we go. So let's see. I'm going to bring this over. Let's pop these side by side. So there's the original. Here's today's version. I kind of like the foreground of this one a little bit better. I think I have more umber and stuff in that one, but I'm liking this too. So as far as the trees go, I love them both. The Caran D'Ache, let's just turn this guy off now. The Caran D'Ache Gouache, I do like the way I can build it up in layers. It definitely did layer on top of itself, you know, as we went. Of course, we worked from lighter to darker. I don't know. What do you think? Does that look like something that would be of interest to you? These are very, very affordable. They do come, the set of 14 with the brush, and a tube of the white gouache. Again, this gouache is not very opaque, as far as white gouache goes. I've heard other artists that have had that same complaint about it, because it's not very opaque. But yeah, I mean, the rest of them, that was our swatch from the last time we used them, and some of the colors we were able to mix up. I like them. I'm looking forward to doing some more paintings with these. These will probably come on a plein air adventure with me at some point in time, which is how I ended up with them, because Shanna brought them from Caution Artists at Play when she and Lindsay and Karen and I went on our last adventure, and then we were all like, I have to have them. The original definitely has more darks in the foreground. I don't know. I kind of like both. I kind of like it like this, and I also liked it like that. This was all with the Daniel Smith gouache. Same paint. I did the background in the same exact way. This just had the Daniel Smith gouache. And I think there was a lot more like green gold, and the the azo yellow and stuff that was in the foreground versus we brought some more green. There's more green back. This is early fall. This is later fall. This one is early fall. So yeah, either way, I like it. I hope you've enjoyed that. I hope you will give it a try. And if you do, please share it and tag me because I would love to see your work. And there we have it. An easy fall painting, an easy way to do foliage. You have some gouache. Paint your leaves in with gouache because you can pepper those right on top of the branches you've painted, and it makes it really easy to see where they go. Yeah, Dylan says, the original reminds me of the darker colors you see on a cloudy day, and today reminds me of a sunny fall day, if that makes sense. Absolutely. Absolutely does. Yep. So there you have it. I hope you guys like it. If you do, please give this a thumbs up. Don't forget to check out the moderator's channel. And a huge thank you to our members and patrons. I will see you tomorrow for live chat over on Discord. And if you are a channel member and you haven't connected, or a patron and you haven't connected to Discord yet, I definitely recommend doing that because you have so many perks and benefits by connecting things that happen over there. So yeah, come check it out. Say hello. We can't wait for you to join us. Until next time, my friends, keep creating, and I will see you in a video real soon. Bye, guys.